Hey, welcome back to another edition of the Buck Junkies Podcast. This one's post-dove season, fellas.
Good one.
Did y'all have a good week last week?
We did.
Jamie, you didn't even get to go shoot at a bird, did you?
Yeah, I skipped out on y'all this time.
What did you do?
I went to Missouri riding side by sides. We had
Where's that place y'all go up there?
Cloud9 Ranch. It's right outside of it's Clawfield, Missouri, just right outside of what's the town? West Plains.
Is it worth the drive?
Oh, definitely.
He scoped us out a barbecue contest to cook next year.
Yeah, that would
The UTV barbecue contest?
Yeah, it's about 5 teams up there. So
Good.
I don't know. We might would have got shunned on that one. I don't know.
Was there anybody hunting birds up there? You hear no shots?
Oh yeah, it was shooting all around. I guess their season opened the same. I guess it's like
I think everywhere opens.
I know Alabama did.
Indiana did.
That's the Daytona 500 of hunting season to me, man.
Everybody getting geared up for the winter.
Dove season, kicking it off. We've been itching all summer. I was hoping we had better weather. It rained on us opening morning.
It was a little hard to get up Saturday morning. Rain was on a trailer. Sounded good.
Didn't have nothing to do with the rain, Mark. It had to do with all the dead tequila you drank the night before.
It might have been that.
You was dragging. He's like, you text me. He's like, I ain't gonna make the safety meeting.
Safety.
I will miss the safety. Oh, it wasn't.
You did make it though.
I wasn't hung over. It was just man, my freaking heartburn whooped me down. But
tequila do that.
Sweet and sour mix usually does that.
Mikey, what about you? How'd you think the weekend went?
It went pretty good. I mean, wish we'd have had a lot more birds than what we did, but you know what? Yeah. Nobody got hurt. Everybody had a good time.
That's right. We had one guy about got his ear blowed off. One kid got bit. I think everybody got a tick off of them, but other than that, no, it went safe. We had a great time. We did have some birds. The boys killed some birds.
I tell you, the boys were on point. They were flat shooting Saturday.
You killed some birds Saturday. Yeah.
I had a good morning. I was 3 for 3.
We set out. We got out there before daylight, which I don't know if that's necessary on Dove.
I don't think so.
You think so?
It feels like it.
Yeah, it's just good to be out there when it's cool. But then the rain set in on us and birds. We killed. I don't know what we killed that morning early. It was only wasn't very many, 8 or 9, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that. It wasn't.
It wasn't nothing special. Rain came in. We sat out there in the rain until everybody got wet, and we said, "All right, to heck with this. Let's go eat breakfast." So we went back to camp, cooked some breakfast, and hung out. The sun finally came out, and I expected it to be a mud hole when we went back, but it wasn't that bad that afternoon. And then we had it got hot, but the birds were flying Saturday evening.
We just didn't have enough shooters Saturday evening.
No, we had 3 or 4 people went home. I guess they didn't want to wait it out, but we found out we had an afternoon field. The mornings wouldn't hit no much, but the evenings when they come piling in, and it was constant shooting. And, we hit a lot of birds, lost some, and we went and looked for them, but that's part of dove hunting. When you're hunting around tall grass or trees that are growed up and stuff, you ain't going to find them all, unfortunately. You got to make that effort, though.
I mean, a dove's just like a duck. If you don't knock him dead, he's going to go find cover. You ain't going to find him.
Man, the smaller ones took more hits than some of them big fat birds.
I did notice that. The doves I did see in Missouri, they're like size of pigeon down here. They was a whole lot bigger.
Oh, we killed a few of them. Tell you what, them pigeons ate good.
That was your first time eating them?
That was my first time eating a pigeon. I couldn't tell. Honestly, the way we cooked them, I couldn't tell any difference. And all we did was threw them in a little marinade and double skewered them so they'd lay flat on the grill. And there was just nothing else on it. Just seasoning and the bird, and it'd been in some marinade. And the pigeon meat tastes just as good as the dove meat.
Y'all just popped the breast out.
They breasted them.
We cut the breast
breast off the bone, so it's like you just got the little lobe on each side.
Kind of like duck.
Yeah, just like it. And then if you just put them on one skewer, they want to roll around and all this. So when Mikey was skewering them, I was making some roll-ups with some other ones. He put 2 skewers side by side like chopsticks up through each piece and just stacked them on there where you can flip them all at one time.
Right.
And you're really only cooking them on 2 sides.
Yeah.
And the whole trick to cooking dove is don't overcook it. If you wrap that dude in bacon, you put stuff in it and all that, and you think you're going to cook it till the bacon gets done, that dove's going to be toast.
Yeah, you got liver on a stick.
Yeah, that's all it is. But when you cook them just without anything on them and sear them real fast, or they're about medium rare, medium, man, those things are juicy and tender.
They melted.
They were tender. Yeah.
That was a Blackstone dove, too.
Yeah, cooked it on a flat top. I mean, it did great.
I tell you, I know we're talking about recipes toward the end, but I think my highlight or my funniest thing was your poppers you made was basically playing roulette. Because you would get one, and it's like, man, that's good jalapeno taste. It's good flavor. And then you get the next one, and you swear
you
down
up.
it was a ghost pepper.
I had one lit me up. I like it, though. I don't care if it's nose is snot.
Oh, you had a 10-minute recovery time after the first one.
Coughing real good.
Eyes watering.
Eyes was definitely, it looked like I was crying. But it was good, though.
We'll talk.
We had a backup plan. We laid out some duck that we had in the freezer from last year just because we didn't shoot enough birds. But we ended up having a bunch of food. Man, we cooked it up.
I will say, Saturday morning breakfast. You know, we've cooked breakfast, heck, every time we've been down there. And we've always had a little bit left over. Saturday morning, no. Everybody was hungry. I guess everybody was starving because it was clean plates. It was nothing left.
It was. Every meal.
Oh, them teenage boys will eat it all.
Heck,
That was the difference.
That wiped it out. Yeah.
Man,
They came
them
in.
jokers can eat.
They showed up late, waited till the rain got off the field, wait till breakfast was over, and hit the road.
In other words, they come to eat breakfast.
Yeah.
May have.
That was all right, though. We still had a great weekend. Highly impressed with the millet field. I think
There's still so much grain.
still a lot of grain on the ground. Yeah, and the birds are still coming to it.
I think it wasn't I think they just moved around. Just that.
Yeah.
I think some other people may have put some fields in at the last minute around us.
Well, there wasn't a whole lot of shooting. We had two or three groups.
That morning it wasn't hardly any.
Hardly any. And then that evening, I think we were doing more shooting than anybody around us. And then Sunday, heard no shooting Sunday morning. And then Sunday evening, there was just a little bit. I mean, it was sporadic this year, but reports from hearing from other people, people that normally kill dove didn't do so well this weekend.
Well,
so it wouldn't jam up numbers or anything.
No, I think the weather played a big part in that too. Because I mean, Friday morning, it was in the low 60s. I mean, it was nice.
Yeah.
But that's not nice for dove hunting either, though. You know, they're gonna hit that cold weather, and then we had the front come through with the rain. Just odds are stacked against us.
You never know. I mean, there were birds there at the beginning of the week, and they spread out. But people get to shooting them. Well, maybe we'll get more birds shot down to us.
Yeah, we'll get some more birds this weekend. I mean,
we got an idea for next year on how to run the field. That's the big thing. The deal with ours was it's old hay fields around us that we were letting grow up for bedding areas for deer. We carved out some dove plots on top of the ridges. Well, next year we're going to bush hog out about 20 or 30 yards outside the field where you can actually shoot the bird before they hit the field. Because if you lost them in that first 30 yards, chances of finding them are hard, you know. We're going to carve it out, and then we're going to let some grass grow up right down the center of the field. That's going to be where everybody's going to sit instead of having to be on the edges.
Yeah,
I think it's going to make a big difference. And then we got a couple of roosting trees. We know where they're flying now.
If it's a thorn tree there, that's where they're going.
Once you watch them in the evenings, you get to figure their flight pattern out. They're hitting these tree lines, and them doves are smart. They're going right down the tree line, cutting the angle right down the next tree line, going to one big tree. Or they're cutting straight across the field as fast as they can go to the other side to get in the tree. And so you got to be on them.
Maybe we just need a tree in the middle or some of them artificial power lines.
I sent y'all a TikTok video.
We had
Did
some
y'all
power
see the
lines in
guy?
our
He had the
field.
guy in his tractor bucket, and they were stretching it up from tree to tree
It was
across the
barbed wire
field.
where they wouldn't light on it.
Oh, is that what it was?
They'd get them close, but I don't know if they'd light on barbed wire. I mean, I guess they
Shoot, I
would.
bet you they would. They'd light on a high voltage electric line. Why wouldn't they light on barbed wire?
A little prick ain't gonna bother them, is it?
heck no. There was one video trying to light on the mojo dove. Did you see that one?
Mm-mm.
I didn't see it either.
Yeah. I don't know if it was attacking it or what, but he showed the dove smoked one.
You know,
There's some good videos. I don't know if everybody's watching TikTok or not, but I got right in the algorithm where you watch one or two, they're just going to feed you all the dove hunting videos.
and it kept getting
And it's more
redneck.
Yes, that's what I like about it. That's our style. This wasn't serious like hunting channel videos.
The one I liked was the one that you sent me that had the guy with the side by side, and he had the playpen
In the
back where the kids, he had his two toddlers back there playing while he was shooting doves.
That's the way I felt we were Sunday evening.
Oh yeah.
Did you ever think you were going to fire up so many people about your top 5 shotguns?
Oh man, heck no!
I mean,
Now I didn't specify. Those were top 5 shotguns that I own or have shot pretty regularly.
right.
I didn't get into does Beretta make a better one than Benelli or does Remington have one as good as Winchester? We can. Me and Mikey, we got an idea about this. Now we're gonna get us a deep freeze. And we're going to freeze these shotguns, and then we're going to see which one of them's will fire.
No, I know what we do. We just give it to Brian.
I can see.
Yeah, if it'll
If it'll hold up to Brian,
Wreck it.
you wreck it, Ralph.
beat it up, Brian. That'd be pretty good.
Poor
though.
Brian.
No, we had a good time though. Dove season. That was what it's supposed to be. It's about we had a bunch of kids there, so we got to teach them some stuff. It was good fellowship, good food, few beverages.
Got a lot done at the farm.
Got a lot done. What all did you knock out before? You knocked out some stuff Friday before any of us ever got there.
I got there pretty early Friday and got our trailer set up, got ready for the weekend. And first thing, got on a new tractor, bush hog, and finished bush hogging everything behind the house and got all that knocked out. And then got our disc, our $1,500 disc, hooked it up, and we put it in the ground. And boy, we put to work.
You got $1,500 out of it this year already.
That's what Miles, he come over, he said, "Daggum." He said, "Y'all disc all this last week?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "I told you we were finna farm 10,000 acres with this disc."
Well, I ran it, Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Yeah.
And you went down there Friday.
Friday. So we got all South Trump done, all in front of Mark's plot done, the new clover plot around the pond. Jamie done 2 or 3 newer plots, and then all the other previous plots. So we probably,
What day did you go? Thursday?
Yeah, Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
what would you say that'd be, Mikey? Almost 20 acres, probably? Close?
Yeah, close.
Right at it. So, I mean, we got all that broke up, and I tell you, we put that ditch in South Trump, and, we were talking about that in previous podcasts, talking about how much water held in that field, and I disked everything on that field, and it was one spot that was a little damp, but it was nowhere near. I mean, that ground broke up good, but so far so good. We had a little issue with the disc, but we're going to get it fixed tomorrow. I mean, it's a 50-year-old disc, so expect to have a little bit of issues, but we'll get it back together and break some more ground this week.
And Mikey, you got the boys and showed them how we were putting some seed this weekend on some of that ground Mark broke.
Yeah, we weighed up, mixed our own seeds, and got them to throw seeds. We did have one that he didn't quite understand the trigger on the thrower. He throwed out all the seed in about 20 feet.
Yeah.
Be a thick
Like,
plot.
Open it wide and let it rip.
Yeah, he gapped her open. I was like, "How much you got left?" I'm about out.
That's how you get your job done quick.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if that's what he was doing. Or,
Must have been Gage.
no.
Oh, no. No, they hightailed it.
Well, I set that trigger on there and opened it up. I could see the gap in there where that biggest seed just would fall through. And I was like, "All right, I got it." And I was like, "Look now, so when you pull this thing back, if you pull it up and back, it's gonna go. You gapping it wide."
Wide open.
Yeah, he dumped out the seed. He didn't make it 20 feet, and he was out. And I was like, "Well, just give it to me. Let me do it."
His
That's
plan
a
worked.
learning experience.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what we're going to talk about today. It's time to put those fall plots in Mississippi. I don't know about everybody else, but down here, we're starting to throw seeds, and that's what we've been working towards. I mean, I know the first thing I was going to say is kind of what is a fall plot? What do y'all consider a fall food plot? I know there's different types. You've got standing. I mean, the way I think of it, I think, you could have standing corn, you could have standing beans that went up, you could have your grain fields, like wheat fields. People have even seen ryegrass. It's really not great for the deer, but, there's, I call them location plots, where some of them you might have a feeding plot only where you're not going to hunt it. You might have your kill plots where you want to put your stands. Then you might have some little micro plots up in the woods or little small quarter-acre plots that you can't get equipment up into, and that's kind of what we were going to talk about today, things like that. So,
To me, the biggest thing with the fall plot is, especially in Mississippi, I mean, we'll have, natural habitat stuff that they can eat on all the way up to Christmas most times. I mean, we don't get super cold in the early part of the season,
that's right.
but you're wanting something that's going to hold up to them late winter hunts, that's going to, survive the winter, survive the heavy frost, and, give good food and protein for them deer late year. To me, that's what I think, and I think we've done a good job of it. Like you were talking about the little micro plots. I mean, some of those plots we got ain't big as nothing, but it's somewhere for them to stop and eat.
Yep.
And, after the rut, them deer run down. They need something good to eat. And I think that's really what we try to do when it comes to our plots, is have something that's going to hold up to that point to where you can push them on through and they can survive and have good protein, have good food up until the spring and summer plots come back in. Right now, it's so much. It's a ton of stuff for them to eat right now.
Regardless, got to have protein.
Yeah,
I think
that's what it is.
Spring or fall or winter plots, you need all the protein you can get out.
Towards nourishment, improving.
That's right.
It goes back to improving that deer herd, having something for them to eat. They're not going to sit there and just wipe it out. They're going to pick on a plot, pick on acorns, go through the woods, whatever you got. That's the way deers are. But if you got that option there for them, it's going to make them healthier. It's going to make those fawns grow. It's going to get your does back. It's going to help those bucks put on weight after they rut and run it all off because they quit feeding there for a while. They go into straight rut mode, and it's they need some
one track mind. Eating's not on that track.
When they come out of that, there is a lot of times even in Mississippi, there's not anything for them to eat. Acorns have been gone. There's no more green. It's tough for them to find food in the winter. Yeah.
Whatever you do with your food plots, you just like John Grucci said in one of the previous podcasts, a deer he's really got a kind of a complex diet. So, you want to make sure you got enough stuff out there that you're holding them on your property with what you have. You got to have that browse. You got to have that hard mass, different things for them to eat. And, it can come in many forms. I mean, we've hunted over just standard grain fields, corn or milo or, I say standard grain. I've hunted over standard beans right before they cut them before, but they didn't really fool with them too much after they dried up, but they would once the farmer came through there, and he spilled them or dropped. They come out of the pod
or missed them on some turn row, left them on the edges and stuff.
They may not eat them right then. It may be a little while before you had deer coming back to those, but they would come back, pick up those little sour beans that been laid on the ground and got wet.
I know down in my mother-in-law's place, the farmer plants 300 acres of beans. They rotate it out, but on the years they have beans, and he leaves some or misses some, the deer are always in there. And up north, I've hunted in Illinois where they paid some of the places we hunted on. They paid some of the farmers to leave some of it, and the deer absolutely flock to them. There's nothing else for them to eat up there.
And that's something a lot of people won't think about. If you've got a lease or you have a permission to hunt somewhere, if you get in contact with that farmer and just tell him, if you leave that back corner for me, just leave it standing, or something. Whatever it may be, if it's something you want to leave.
Yeah, he might leave it.
Just leave it. You give him $100 or
whatever,
$200. He ain't gonna make that off of it. And
he might just want some deer meat.
Yeah,
yeah, that's right.
And that's something too. Is we talk a lot about food plot stuff, but talking to our friend Jay up in Indiana, they don't do food plots. He said, He said, I can't compete with 1,000-acre cornfield or 1,000-acre bean field up there. He's like, it's grain everywhere. He said, so that do like just you say, mention with the farmer, work out something, leave a little bit standing, and hunt it.
They know that's where the deer are too. So when you go selecting your locations for fall plots, what are some things you look for?
I look for me personally. I like to where you got somewhere next to you're feeding them next to bedding or next to where they're going. Their main line of travel. They're going across your property.
I think with us down there, I mean. Like Jamie's probably one of his favorite stands, the pond stand, and it's for that reason. You got a pond, you got bedding area to your left, you got a thicket out in front of you. I mean, kind of
best of both worlds.
Yeah, get something where they're either going to travel through and eat, or there's their main goal to come there and eat.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, do you think you can just turn any land you got into a food plot?
No,
you got to be selective.
I mean,
you could plant it, but is it going to be productive for you, right? I mean, you can put food anywhere on your property you want to, as long as the soil will take it, and we'll get into that later on in this podcast, but you don't want no trash. You don't want to try to put something, you don't want to try to build a food plot in a trashy piece of ground.
Well, it's just like a human. Are you going to drive an hour out of the way to go eat Wendy's, or are you going to go right down the street that you're already going down to eat it,
Well, I mean, I know deer are traveling animals. Most of the time they're going to take the safest way to them to go eat. And what we see, and I know everybody else does too, when it comes hunting season, these deer, they start using them at night. That's when they're using these food plots. You got to have some in decent locations where they feel safe in the morning to still stay out there and feed a little bit later before they go back to bed. And then they're going to hit when they get up first thing. Because if you've just got plots out in the middle of land where there's no way for them to get to it safe, they're probably not going to use them as much. Or they're going to use them at midnight where you're never going to see them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a lot of times they'll come up to the house. There'll be deer in the yard. I mean, they're eating grass in people's yards, so they feel safe at night coming up and feeding. But that don't mean you're going to see them when it's legal to shoot them. So
no.
I think about it like that. Where can we put these plots that's going to be a safe place for them to feel like? And that's why a lot of times you don't just make a straight field. These deer like it when there's edges to it. Where the fields turn. And I've seen different kinds of plots that hold deer or bring deer in better. And that a lot of times you see multiple deer in different stages in that plot when you don't have just a big square field or.
I think too a prime example of that is the little clover plot with the ground blind in it that we had last year, and we're planting it again this year. That plot ain't a quarter of an acre, little bitty, but it's surrounded by a thicket. And you can watch late season, them deer start showing up in that plot because they feel safe. There's, they're not open to nothing. It's just a little bitty plot, and they stay on it.
Well, Jamie, when you were taking care of the island over there, what kind of plots would you see them playing on ground like that,
Man.
where it's like?
Over there, this is my opinion now. So you had a lot of roads going through the whole property. They wanted food plots on the edge of the road, so you've seen the deer. Pretty much all the food plots there that was like out in the woods, old log land, and that was something that you as a hunter, you spent your own time, effort, and done. Caretaking, I did have some big plots out in the middle of the woods, but it's not like, all right, for instance, on the new ground, one big field over there, it's kind of like that, it'd be, but most of theirs was on road beds.
They're just like right away. They're right away.
Yeah, but you had, it was, it's probably 100 miles of trails over there.
Yeah.
But a lot of that too, I think, them people over there want to bring a guest in.
Yeah,
they want the guest to see the deer, and it looks good.
You're riding around, you see them on the sides. They're feeding the deer. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
It's harder to hunt them when you're hunting on the road.
And I see that point of it too, because like, just say I do a food plot in front of your stand, it looks good. I do one in front of Mark's, it looks like crap. Well, who you mad at? You mad at the caretaker because his looks better.
Yeah,
so I understand
what's
that.
wrong with
Where
it?
you're hunting, you kind of responsible for your own upkeep on that.
But breaking up those plots, like keeping smaller plots in different areas and stuff like that, and ones that we don't hunt all the time, and some that we do get kind of high pressure. Those high pressure ones, as the deer kind of move nocturnal on those, you may pick them up on some of these smaller ones back in the woods that ain't but a quarter or a half acre.
That we're not hunting as hard.
That we're not hunting as hard, and guess what? We can swap and go over to this one. And that helps out a lot if you got the space for it.
Able to move your pressure around your property is key.
You can move. If you can keep pressure off of some of those plots and just let them feed and use those, get used to it, and have somewhere else for them to move, you'll be more productive throughout the year too.
That's what I think you have some that are just off limits. They're feeding plots.
Yeah,
that's where they're safe. You don't care how many they're out there feeding. Nobody's going to shoot them in that field. But then you got your kill plots over where you prefer for them to go. And we see that in ours, like in our big plots, it's doe city. That's where all the does hang out. And those are great plots for people that just want to go out and see deer. You want to see numbers, but the chances of killing a big buck in one of those plots, they're not coming out in it very. You might get lucky.
Hit a rut.
You might get lucky in the rut where they're chasing across it and stuff. But I don't know how many times I've been sitting there till right at the end of shooting light or after shooting light. That's when that old buck. He'll stand back, and you won't even see him. He'll be there watching them doe, letting them feed and all that. Then he'll finally come on out. It's too late to shoot him, of course, but that's just the way they do. But you catch them in these little micro plots where they're slipping through from bedding areas, going to those big destination plots. They might stop in these little small ones, get them a bite, see what's going on, ease on through. And that's the whole point of having those kind of plots. And a lot of times that's where you want to put your stands, is on those trails that they're walking. If you find the routes they're going from bedding to water to these food sources like plots, that's the whole way of hunting them.
I can't wait to see how much difference we see this coming up year versus past. Because for instance, plantation field. Me and you hunted in Crossroads. I hunted plantation. I seen 42 deer that morning, and that was just a wide open field. It wasn't food out there for
it. It wasn't even food plot.
No, it was nothing.
Yeah.
And this year we're able to go in there and put that edge around like we're talking, to keep it where they feel safe. And Jamie left a lot of little islands out there, little thickets and stuff like that. And we're gonna have a food source right there amongst it.
And they ate there all summer because they're summer plots.
So how much is that going to change from last year?
I hope we see a lot. Even more deer in it.
They're going to be more comfortable now.
Yeah, very much more. They're going to feel safer. They're going to be used to having groceries there. That's the buffet.
Now, it's not going to be the side of a biologic bag pretty food plot, because we do have all that other junk out there.
That's right.
But pretty plot don't mean you're going to kill a big deer.
But if you watch on some of these other, like if you watch these hunt videos and things like that, most of the time they show, they'll show you them in the stand hunting, and it looks like a big, but if you see those drone pictures when they pick it up and you see some of them, they'll go over their farm, you'll see some of these places that are just like what we did. There's like grass all the way around it. There's a handful of, green plots in amongst these big thickets. Mm-hmm. And that they're doing the same thing. Now, whether they're telling you that or not.
It's one thing for TV. It's one thing to actually
right.
do it.
I mean, our main goal is not to kill every deer we see. That's not
No.
that's not what this is all about at all. But
Yeah.
You got to create the perfect habitat
right.
to kill that one deer. You know, that one deer you want. I'd love to go back and see. I wish we'd have took more pictures when we first got that property and compare that to now as far as what the food plots look like, you know, what the road system looks like in and out, and just what all we've changed over the years as we learned. It don't look nothing like it did when we first got it, no doubt.
No, yeah, it's definitely changed for sure.
You know, a lot of things is going to decide where you put your food plots is which ones you're going to put or what you're putting down. You know, are they just feeding plots or are they killing plots? You know, you gotta take into account the wind and all that stuff. How you going to get to it? That's going to determine where you're going to put the plot too. You know, because if you can't get to there without blowing deer out,
Doesn't do you any good to have.
what good is it to have the food plot there? I
I
mean, you can
would-
still put it there, but you ain't gonna hunt around.
not a shooting plot,
Right.
not somewhere you're gonna put your stand or whatever.
Yeah, you just.
So you gotta
just
keep
got
that in mind.
food.
That is one thing I think that I guess would be our weakest link right now is we don't have many stands to hunt a south wind. Just one or
It's
two or
just the way
three.
our property's
Yeah, I
laid
mean, it's
out
just
with
the nature of the
access.
beast.
A
But
lot of people face that. You know, we're surrounded by neighbors, so you can't get on their land and them let you. I mean, I guess you depend on your relationship with them or stuff, but a lot of times you only have one way in, or you know, there's no way to access it any other way.
I guess
So
those
that
properties,
determines-
the main access is from the south going north. I
Yeah,
mean,
it is. All
Pretty
both
limited.
of them. And you know, and on the new property, there's a good bit of stuff to the south of us, but on that other one, it's not a whole lot back to the south of us where the deer would come from that way. There's a little bit, but not a lot. Most of ours come from the west and the north. So we got our stand set up like that to catch the deer coming from the west or coming from the north.
Some days you just don't hunt 'em.
Yeah.
So we got our locations figured out where we're going to put our plots. What we got to do to get our ground ready? That's a big thing. Like, you know,
If you're just starting out and you got the time to do it, and you need to do it anyways. You need to pull a soil sample. You need to determine what you need in your soil or what your soil is lacking. That would be the first step that I would take if it's a piece of property you're going to keep for a while.
if you really want to
Yeah.
invest in this
You want to
property,
invest in it. I don't care if it's a half-acre plot. Pull the soil sample out of it. Now, you got to pay for these. Some of them are free.
the county extension offices will do a soil test and they'll make recommendations.
Yeah, you can take them to local, like ours is a extension building down here, MSU's extension building down at the end of town. Go down
I'm
there.
pretty sure they send them to Mississippi State. That's
Yeah, I
where
think
those
so.
samples go and they get tested.
But they'll send them off. I think you may have to pay for shipping or whatever it costs
I
them.
think it's like $9 a kit
Yeah.
or something like that.
But they'll test them for.
But your local co-op, a lot of times they'll have private labs that
Yeah.
do it.
And they get really in depth in those private labs. You know, we got one done and it was sent off to a private lab, and man, it came back with some stuff I had never even.
Way above your pay grade.
Yeah, I was like, well,
That's me. I want
there's
to know.
about 5 things I need to know on this. There's about 15 on here. I don't know what this other stuff is, but hey,
To me, so what they tell you, number one is what your pH is, and that's going to be how much lime you need to add on the field. Most of the time, our soil is going to require lime, especially if it hasn't been farmed, hasn't had any type of crop, grown on it.
or
They're going to
irrigation.
be, it's going to need, you're going to need to get that It's going to be acidic soil.
but you also got to realize you're not going to get this soil sample back,
Oh.
put these and see results within
Next week.
months or,
No,
that year, or
no.
even that year, most likely.
No, that's right. It's going to be 6 months to the next
Yeah.
season, but it helps. It does. I mean, it's going to,
don't let that discourage you.
right.
yeah,
that's
don't
right.
let it discourage you, but also don't just go out there and think you're going to put seeds in the ground they're going to grow. Because you got also those tests tell you what kind of fertilizer requirements a certain crop's going to have. So if you're going to put down an oat field
Yep.
or whatever, they'll make a recommendation on how much fertilizer, if the pH is right or where it's at, that you're going to need to add to those fields to get them to grow.
Yeah.
Or if you don't need a certain element of fertilizer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because on ours, when I did ours, we were planting sunflowers in that one field. So I wrote down desired crop or whatever the section was there. So it gave me the pH or the lime density and the fertilizer density that I needed for that crop. Well, we're not planting sunflowers there no more. So
All that's changing.
yeah, it's
Gonna
changing.
change.
You can still do it to that. It's probably not going to hurt anything, but it's probably not going to be ideal for beans if you're going to put beans in
Yeah.
there. because that's a completely different plant, different thing, different needs. You know, you got legumes that don't need so much nitrogen.
So do you think it's important to every single plot that you're going to do pull a soil sample on it so you know what that dirt is?
If you're going to
take it serious.
Yeah, if you're going to take it serious, yeah. But I mean, you know, some of those, like we did ours, like there were 2 ridges between the upper mud hole and like Whaling Stand. So I pulled a sample out of Whaling Stand. Those 2 ridges were close together, so I'm assuming that those 2 are,
we're not farming
pretty close.
it, so yeah, it's
right.
pretty close.
They're close enough to where I know what needs to be put on those. And then down in the bottom, it was completely different. You know, it was a little bit different it was a little less. The pH was a lot less down there than it was up on the ridge up there.
So it needed more.
Needed more lime in the bottom.
And so once you find out you get all this data, that's when you can go back to your co-op and they're going to tell you what you need to do. When they say add 2 tons of lime per acre, I mean, if you think you're just going to go get some bag lime and throw it out, that's a lot of work. You're probably going to need.
You fix and rent a buggy.
Probably going to need to rent a buggy or get somebody to come out to your land and sling it out for you. And that's really the cheapest way to do it. If you got a pretty good area to get the pH up, is to get a lime buggy or to get that lime truck to come out and sling it for you. I've done it at my dad's place up in McNairy County. Me and Jamie went and got the buggy down at the co-op down here, and that was that the first year we did that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
pretty close. Yeah, it needs it again, and you can't. I mean, most of the time you're not going to get through all the requirements that first fall. I mean, you're going to do half of it and then come back after hunting season and do another half.
And lime too, like I could easily see where that's something that's overlooked because it's not you don't see the instant gratification of it. You're not going to see it.
Yeah.
Whereas 13, I mean, that stuff turns green next week, but lime is something that's just, even I'm guilty of it. I mean, that's something that's so important that, that's the start of any soil. I mean, Miles has taught us that is, if you've got a field that's full of sagegrass, most likely it needs some lime, because sagegrass grows where it's low. I guess the pH level is so low.
It's high.
Or high, excuse me.
Well, the acidity is high, yeah. pH is low.
So, I mean, it's one of them things you're not going to see the benefits of it until 2 or 3 years later. But if you get religious about it and take care of that soil, it's going to pay off.
That lime is more important than fertilizer. I mean, fertilizer helps, but if you ain't got the pH right, stuff don't want to grow.
No, because it kind of goes together with the other stuff that you're putting down, like your herbicides and your fertilizers and things like that. So for those things to really work at a maximum level or you get the most benefits out of those things, you need to have that soil balanced out. It does not need to be, high acidic or, it needs to be balanced. And that way, when you do spray, your chemicals that you spray down work better in your soil. Your fertilizers work better in your soil. It helps everything. Well,
let's talk about, now that we got our soil right and we know we may have needed some lime, we did some of that. Let's talk about what we're going to do to the dirt. How are we going to get these fields right or these plots right if they're just ground that had nothing been growing on?
If it ain't been nothing growing on it and it's just a chest deep in grass, first thing you're going to do is you got 2 choices. You can cut it down. Well, you got 3 really. I mean, you can cut it down, wait a few weeks till that new growth starts coming back, spray it and kill it dead, or you can try to go in there and spray it. But
most likely you're going to be spraying 2 to 3 times.
Yeah, most sprayers, depending on your sprayer and stuff like that, if it's chest deep in grass and stuff, some of that smaller stuff up under there, because your chemicals contact chemicals. So if it doesn't get down in there and catch that lower stuff, you can kill all the stuff that's sticking way up, but it won't kill some of that stuff that's way down low. So generally, if you have time, bush hog it, give it a couple of weeks, let that stuff kind of sprout back up, and then spray the crap out of it. And then you can start, if you want to break it, give it another week, see if any new stuff comes up from any seeds, spray it, kill it, and that'll get rid of everything.
You can burn it. That's
burn
one option.
Mm-hmm.
Burn it off, get it down, and then break it up.
Don't get excited, think it's finna burn like gunpowder, though. It might, but it might not.
So, but you're going to need something to cut it with. That's for one thing. Yeah. You got to have.
I mean, depending on your budget, you can go from a tractor and bush hog to a weed eater. I mean, just
what you got, or
a
lawnmower.
The area you
we
have.
took lawnmower and weed eater in, yeah. Some of them small plots.
Weed control is frustrating. I mean, it's really frustrating. We've seen it. Yeah. I mean, you think about everything that's out there right now that, if you went into a new piece of property, you're going to plant a food plot right now. You went in, you bush hogged it. Anything that's sticking up with a seed head on it, it just slung them seeds everywhere.
Spread it everywhere.
Even if you burned it, them seeds fell.
To the ground.
See, I did see a thing, and I don't know how much truth to it is. A guy was saying that, like you say, brand new property full of hay or full of weeds or whatever, cut it like you do hay. You know, get somebody that wants some just ragged hay, just something to get by, whether it be for a construction company for, you know, keep erosion down or whatever. He said because they cut it, they don't shake the, you know, the hay cutter cuts it off at the base. So it's not knocking them seeds everywhere.
Right.
And then they're baling the seeds and baling everything with it, getting it out. But, again, it's kind of out there, but that is an option.
Well, I guess you got the option too. You're going to disc it. You're going to try to drill in it, or you're going to try to do the cheap way and seed it before you mow it. Do throw and mow.
If you were going, I guess if you was going to throw or drill in, I would wait till later, maybe, instead of right now doing it right now. Because if you went in and you drilled into weeds that were alive, they're going to overtake whatever you just planted really fast.
You're probably going to have to go ahead and spray them.
Yeah, so you're going to have to spray it before you drill it. Give them a jump start and let them get up.
Yeah.
Because if you don't kill that out, then, you know, especially if you throw and grow, you better kill out that field.
Yeah. So what are we talking about chemical wise for fall plots? Is it Roundup about the only one you're going to need?
Yeah, it's not. It's not.
And then hope frost gets.
It's going to take out just about everything.
And that's the good thing about fall plots. Your frost is your friend, you know.
Yeah. That, I mean, we found that easier. I mean, you don't have to fight that weed infiltration after a good frost date. And I love that about it.
I mean, talk to your co-op or farm supply, tractor supply. You don't have to get per se Roundup. I mean, that's
no.
There's
There's
glyphosate.
right. Yeah, you can buy a whole off brand for a quarter of the money.
Yeah, you can get Buccaneer, and there's another one that I've used. It's off brand. It's depending on where you get it from, what they can get their hands on.
Yeah, because I mean, all those chemicals have gotten so expensive this year.
It's just different name brands. It's like Pepsi and Coke.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, the chemical, you know, Roundup is just one of the most popular names. That's not actually a chemical.
Yeah, it's just a brand.
Your brand name.
Just a brand name.
It's the glyphosate that you want.
Yep.
And this goes back to is where's your plot going to be? Do you got just woods? You don't even have a field. You know, if you're just going to have an opening in the middle of hardwoods, you want to rake back and get something to come up. You don't have to deal with half that. You just got to get the leaves out of the way, you know.
So you got your rakes and your blowers and something to break the ground a little bit, get it in and cover it up.
It's a ton of good information right now about them small, you know, 30 by 40 foot food plots people do by hand.
Micro plots.
Yeah, and they turn out great.
Those are a lot of times those are good little stopping micro plots where you can get a shot on deer.
I think
you don't have to worry about a bunch of them flocking to it. It's not the destination style plot. It's the one where you can kill a buck.
But if they're browsing, looking at some acres, like, hey man, look at that green over there.
Yeah.
That looks good.
You're talking about look at the green. You need to pay attention to what you're actually getting.
That's right.
Not nothing that's got 85% ryegrass on there.
Well,
it does look good, but it's not benefits not there.
That's the marketing thing for some of those people is, you know, any of those that are throw and grow are kind of the cheaper one. Is that ryegrass, it'll grow.
If you're going to buy it at your local grocery store, it's most live ryegrass.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about this fall food plots. What's our favorite seed, or what's our top 5 seeds that you like to plant for fall food plots?
Turnips.
Where would turnips would be on yours? Turnips is on mine. I was going to say start with those cereal grains. You got your oats. That's probably one of the most common ones we see.
Wheat.
You got wheat. You got rye, cereal rye grain.
Rye.
What's the other? Triticale.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that you see make up the bulk of the plot mixes that we see now that people are having success with.
And those are
in the state of Mississippi. And I imagine that goes for the South and even up north in some places. You know,
those regenerate so well too.
Yeah.
So as they eat,
they can take
graze
that
them
browse.
down,
Yeah.
they'll come back. They'll keep coming back.
Yeah.
You'll know when they're not browsing because they'll get up and get stalky and get heads on them.
So going next is the purple top turnip.
Well, I say turnips because they used to be so cheap. But what'd you pay for those the other day? They wasn't cheap. I mean, it was
I think it was around $200 for that bag of turnips.
For turnips.
for
Damn.
turnips.
It was a $100
They have
bag.
different ones.
I mean,
Now,
it
there's
was-
different
it was-
kinds. I mean, you got rape and kales and all different kinds of borascas, which is green leafy plants that deer absolutely love that work great in food plots. I mean, I can't tell you how many times we planted just a straight turnip plot, and it might be an acre of turnips. I mean, deer. I don't know what it is. Sometimes areas people say deer don't like turnips. Every place we planted them, man, they absolutely love them, especially after a frost when those turnips start getting sweet to them. And then the dead winter,
Then
when
they
there's
stink.
well, they do, but they pull them up out of the ground and eat the bulbs. If you don't plant them too thick, they'll make great big bulbs. I mean, that's what I like a turnip field.
Winter peas.
Is that on your list? Winter peas?
If you can make them last.
See, that's been my problem. They absolutely love them, and they just won't let them.
Yeah.
They won't let them stick around.
If
I mean,
you got
can't put enough of
a
'em in.
half-acre plot, they ain't going to make
Oh
it.
no! You better come with some real estate. We
I
gotta
don't know
put
if they'll
those
make
in.
it in a big plot. I mean, that's
They'll
like
lop 'em out.
beans. If they come through and they see them,
They
they're
love
going
them.
to pick
They
them
love 'em.
out first. You'll think, well, they didn't
Yep.
come up. They did come up.
I've got your clovers.
I
I love planting clovers for bang for your buck, protein wise, and everything. Clover is one of the plants to plant in your food plots for your fall. But also, you got to do. I like doing the red and the white because you're not going to see the white in the fall. It's going to establish that underground root system. A lot of times you plant it with your grains too. You can throw it in there. That way you got spring clover for turkeys, for those new fawns, and that stuff's going to last. A lot of times you can take care of it, and it'll last you multiple seasons. It'll come back. But that red clover, some of those, they'll shoot right up out of the ground in the fall. You'll have a lot of vegetation for the deer to eat, and they flock to those. There's nothing prettier than a big clover plot.
That's why you hit somebody on the highway. All that
They
red
love
clover on
that
the
red
side of the
clover.
highway.
Yeah.
Well, we talk a lot about not really bad mouthing them, but mixes aren't our go-to. We've learned that, but
Bulk mixes.
bulk mixes.
Yeah.
But if you reach out to a established, I guess, company or somebody like that, and you actually see, like we say, see what they got in it, there's nothing wrong with the mix.
Yeah.
As far as winter plots go, you just need to make sure it's not full of rye. It does have some of them turnips or rape. A lot of the mixes we've messed with, I think, the Delta Plot Plus, it was raping it, wasn't it?
Yeah, it had a couple of different kind of brassicas in it.
But
Turnips, radish,
and that'll cover all your bases. And most of those, like a quality mix, will have some of the red and whites in it.
That was my number one, was don't just go one species.
Yeah.
Go combo. You want
For the
grains for fall. You
Fall.
want grain, and we're going to try it for the summer too, so we can spray that's tolerant. But for fall, you got to have the grain. You got to have some grains. That's going to be your bulk of your plot. That's what's going to tolerate the browse. Got to have some brassicas in there. Got to have some clovers in there. If you got different species of those three kinds of plants, you will have a plot that deer absolutely love and will stay in, and they're going to eat it at different times of the year. It's going to come in at different times of the year, but you want to make sure your ratio is right. You can't just, put all grains or it'll choke out everything, and those grains will grow up tall enough the deer will quit messing with them. You don't want to have all turnips because, just the whole solid field's not going to be appetizing to them all year long.
Yeah.
And then if I was going to do a species where it was just that field, it would be clover. And Jamie, you've probably seen that.
Man, that's my favorite
Yeah.
thing.
There's a lot of people that do just clover, and we did some.
We did some
this week.
So yeah, we mixed in a little bit of turnips and radish in there with
Some of them, yeah.
just to get something up right now for that clover to establish. But we redid some of our clover plots and even added some new ones just because that is going to carry for the next couple of years, and it's minimal spraying to them.
We know we got to mow it a couple times a year, use a little bit of chemical on it, and the clover, it's aggressive enough to where if it's not too hot and doesn't get droughted out,
cowed out.
Yeah, it's going to establish, and it's going to keep coming back, especially a good white clover. Like
Well,
what was that Pennington
Durana.
Durana that we planted? There's different kinds out there.
you just opened it up, something we did not mention. We were talking about soil and trying to maintain it. You got to look at clover, how much it adds back to the soil. Because, what were you saying? A 1 acre plot of clover, like you don't put nitrogen on it, period?
It fixes it back. Yeah.
Well, yeah, if you clover, you don't want to put nitrogen in it because when you buy fertilizer, it produces its own nitrogen. So if you put one that's got like a high nitrogen content in it, it'll burn it up. So it'd be like middle of summer, the way they look in the middle of summer, you just burn it to the ground. So you want to put no nitrogen fertilizer on, or very low nitrogen fertilizer on clover.
And two, something else, people don't realize about mowing clover. We tried to stay on top of it with everything, but what is it for white clover? When it blooms, you mow it in the spring, but you only cut the flower off. You don't cut the actual leaf down. So you're looking at 5 to 6 inches bush hogging, something like that.
Kind of the rules of thumbs is around the holidays. You need to be mowing clover Memorial Day, 4th of July, Labor Day. That's when you should mow your clover. And like you said, don't cut it too short, and it'll be there's going to get some weeds and stuff in it, but that clover, a lot of times it'll choke it out. I mean, they grow pastures of clover because it's great feed for, livestock and stuff. So it's a really hardy plant to grow.
They say Mikey gave all them livestock down there to scours.
They sure got them.
They wasn't used to eating clover, were they?
No.
Oh, man, I think that hurt our clover more than anything this year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wipe some of it out.
But, I mean, now,
Cows will destroy it. They absolutely
What they don't eat, they tromp down.
Yeah.
like right there around Trump stand, all that was just tromp.
Yeah.
I mean, no, it's coming back. Like you say, the root system's so good. I mean, a lot of that clover's still coming back now that we got rain on it. And so, I mean, that one on by Wayland stand, it looks real good.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think, I don't know if deer can wipe out a clover plot. We've how many deer have we seen in that plot right there you're talking about? I don't guess the cows got in yet.
Yeah.
But it's thick and lush with clover. The deer, they're going to graze on it enough, but you get some cows in there on it, it don't take very many cows to just pull it up out of the ground.
Well, that, and I mean, as I'd say it, the cow crap got so much nitrogen in it, it'll burn it up,
Yeah,
Well,
if it's patties all over it, it'll
burn it up.
Really?
Well,
Go back to your fertilizer, Mikey. How important is it to get your fertilizer right? Or can we just go take a guess and throw triple 13?
That's how, I mean, all the so-called hunting clubs I grew up in, it was like one weekend a year, you go down there, scratch the ground up, put a log behind the four-wheeler, drag it over it, and throw triple 13 out, and you had a so-called food plot.
Yeah.
I mean, it got green.
It's easy to do, though.
It was green. That's what it was. All ryegrass and stuff. It's all green. But
I mean, triple 13. If you don't understand or know, I mean, it's pretty much your all around. So
it'll get you by.
It's even amounts of everything.
Are you wasting? So to me, you're wasting money if you don't know.
You're wasting money if you don't know.
Yeah, because
you got a large operation, or you're just not doing a 1 acre food plot. If you're just doing a 1 acre food plot, and as long as it's not all clover, you can throw triple 13 on it. It probably will
get by.
You may
respond
need
to
100 pounds or something like that on an acre or something.
But if you're doing like we're doing, where you have,
but that falls back
10,
on what you
20,
said earlier.
30 acres.
Going back to that soil sample, that tells you what on the fertilizer you
It's
need.
going to tell you. You can take that soil sample and you can take it to your local co-op or whoever you're buying your stuff from and say, look, this is what I'm planting. This is what my soil sample says. And they're going to tell you, all right, well, you need to throw 0-24-24. And that's the one.
Which is what we threw last year, was it not?
Yeah.
And a lot of times they'll blend that up for you too. It's not necessarily bagged fertilizer. I mean, I guess you can buy some of it in bags, but
like we did with the buggy, it's pre-mixed.
I mean, we saved a ton of money by doing that.
Yeah, most of you can buy. They'll mix it for you, and if they don't have it exact, they'll get you close, and you can buy those buggies and do it with that, or you can do it, bags. Which bags sucks, It's,
yeah.
Got to cut all them bags open, throw them in the hoppers, and all that stuff. A lot of times it's better if you got access to a co-op within reason. A lot of people don't have one close. You ain't want to drive that fertilizer buggy 30 miles. I can tell you that thing wear your pickup out.
Well, let's talk about, before we wrap it up today, food plotting on a budget. Somebody's got them a lease, or they got a little small piece of property, or they're just starting out making fall food plots. What can you do economically in today's times to make sure you've got you a food plot or something that's going to, that can maybe draw some deer in, you can get a shot at a deer? Man, what would y'all do?
Man, I heard they got this new program where you buy just bags of corn. It's no till. You just put it on top. It'll come on up next spring.
Style.
The average guy's got a four-wheeler or side-by-side, most likely. They can go buy a pretty cheap sprayer from Tractor Supply, Harbor Freight, something like that, put on the back. Like Mike's saying, spray it, knock your weeds back. And as far as that, you can till it up with anything, scratch the ground or whatever for a small, limited budget food plot. Go that route.
As long as you can scratch the ground, get the weeds off.
You ain't got to break it up.
Get you some contact. And I would say, importantly, watch your rain events, because once you get those seeds in the ground, you got to have a shower. You don't need a downpour, but you need a good shower to get those seeds to germinate. And it doesn't take a whole lot.
We ought to do that. We ought to just buy like 1 or 2 cheap side-by-side implements and just
I tell you, I've seen
trial and error.
The little 2-foot wide disc that goes on a receiver hitch. It works.
It does work. It sucks. I mean, having a tractor makes it a whole lot easier. You can cover a lot more ground, and you can make those food plots look really good.
And a lot of it too. I mean, you don't have to, like Jamie said, you don't have to do a full out, break the ground, hair it, get it smooth and pretty. It's just, work the ground how you need to work it. But, biggest thing is know what you're planting. If you see that brown camouflage bag at your local co-op, don't plant it, because it ain't nothing but wheat. It's going to come up and look good.
Yeah.
But
You think about nourishment, what's going to be good for the deer.
Yeah.
Do a little bit of research, check your ground, get your ground right.
And if you're starting out, that field you got on your property may not be the best place to put that plot your first year. You know, if you're trying to figure out what's going to work, man, get over in the bushes and, you know, rake them leaves back and just get something in there, you know. That sagegrass field you're going to have to battle weeds for the next 2 or 3 months may not be the one you need to do this year.
If you're going to spend time and money on a food plot, just decide what you want to accomplish from it. And if you're going to continue to keep it there, you may want to take that extra time to get a good seedbed. I would definitely get clover in there. You know, you can buy it by the 1 pound
Bang
bag.
for your buck.
Yep. And get that established. And, you know, but with clover, it has to have a good seed bed.
Yeah. Can't just overseed it on some ground. Have you ever had
You can, but you're going to spend
throwing mow clover?
That stuff's it's expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, so
When you squeeze that trigger too much, you done throw the $100 out.
Throw $100 out on one real fast, you know, and not realize what you done. But you want to make sure that you got good soil to seed contact.
That's what the throwing mow kind of does. It provides that thatch. It goes back to almost like that buffalo system, laying something down. You're killing that stuff on top of it, putting your seeds on it, and then laying it over on top of it, so it kind of gives it a place to germinate and go.
We may need to do that. The little plot right behind the shop.
Test it, see.
Let's do it. Like, I'll get down to weed eater. We're gonna use all hand stuff and
What's the
turn it into it.
hand tiller mama had a mantis or whatever?
Man, that thing beat your.
Mantis.
Yeah, but it would. I mean, seriously,
It would scratch it.
Somebody
Yeah.
could get out there and $200 on the weed eater attachment. You know.
Heck, you can do damage if you had.
Would it work it up like it showed in the TV commercial?
It actually would.
It does.
It was pretty stout.
You can
If
stick
the
it
ground
over
was
your
hard,
flower.
you had to work it.
Yeah, it's
a
gonna
little
hop
bit,
you.
but
I can see that thing bounce.
does.
It does.
will.
If you try to walk with it like a tiller, you got to pull it back
You
to
got to
you.
pull it backwards.
But it works.
But again, if you're a bow hunter or something, you got a small,
Yeah.
heck,
Quarter
river,
acre
a
or
little
smaller.
area in the hardwoods or something you're hunting, and you want to put some green on it. That's a economical way to do it.
That might be some of my content coming up. Getting the one behind the shop done, all hand tools, nothing else.
You had one at your house you did like that with some of
Budget
that
food
clover,
plot.
didn't
Yeah, I done one right there. I killed 2 deer off of it, matter of fact.
you? Would you do that with the tractor or did you do it by hand?
No, we actually had that. It was old. Well, I think you
Well,
used
the one at my new house I done with Jamie's tractor, but the one you're talking about I done with our granddaddy's.
Yeah, it's just
It was
equipment auction. Old, just wore out disc. You pull behind a
It's
four.
a 4-foot disc, and what you do is you unpin it, and you only have the front axles, so you can put it behind. Mine was at the time was a Honda 300, so not a big 4-wheeler, and put some cinder blocks on it. Man, it broke it up fine. You can get those little discs cheap.
Just watch your marketplace, Craigslist of little. Oh, I mean, some of it's wore out pretty much, but still, it gets
There's
the job
ways
done.
to do it, no doubt. Don't let it discourage you.
So are y'all, after all this talk, are y'all pro fall food plots? Or
Oh,
do
you
you
got
rather?
to.
You got to have fall food plot. If you ain't seeing nothing, at least you got something to sit on.
I'm with you. I didn't know if you liked hunting in the woods better or wanted to be on a food plot.
Well, before you spoiled us with these heaters, I'd say in the woods all day long. But now I think about the climbing stand. I think about the buddy heater. And buddy heater
wins.
It
You
wins.
put way more hours in there with the buddy heater.
Yeah,
on
I
a cold
didn't
day.
kill a deer last year, but I seen a ton of deer.
Yeah.
I still
you
enjoy
like
hunting in the
deer.
woods, but
I do too.
if I'm a fair weather climbing tree,
Yeah.
it's got to be mid-50s,
I like sitting in the woods in the morning. Something about the sun coming up and you're in the woods, and then in the evenings, it's like they coming to you. I mean, even if you can get in the woods in between where they're coming, but they're coming.
They ain't stopping. They
They're
going to that
coming
green field.
plot. They're coming to that plot. You never know what's going to pile in there.
My eyes done got so bad, man. If it's like right
I'm
at
old,
sunrise, I can't see nothing.
I'm too old and fat to be going through the woods and playing in the dark very much. I ain't climbing up no trees, so stand for me. I do got a couple stands in the box stands in the
Yeah.
woods that I really like.
We killed some deer out of them.
Yeah, heck yeah.
That's usually probably when I'm going to get my does knocked out this year is in wood stands.
So do y'all have any recipes y'all want to talk about before we get out of here today, guys?
What was your favorite bite this past weekend?
Man, that's a tough one. That's a real, real tough one. It's probably going to be that brown onion gravy duck
That was good.
over mashed potatoes that you did. And it was, I don't know how many onions you had in there.
All of them.
All the onions. But that was a delicious, delicious gravy, duck gravy. What I guess you'd call it duck gravy, wouldn't you?
Yeah. It was basically just lightly fried duck, and then pulled it out of the skillet, used your Magnolite pot, pulled it out, had a little bit of grease in the bottom, not much at all. Threw, how many onions? That was probably 5 pounds of onions.
5 pound bag of onions.
Ooh, y'all was stout.
No, you never even knew an onion was in it. It was
And
sweet.
it cooked down the consistency. It was just, it blended in with the gravy along with the duck.
Cooked them onions down, put a stick of butter in it, 64 ounces of beef broth, I think is what it was. And let it go. Didn't add anything else, just let it cook down. Of course, we seasoned it. I know we got a lot of, better season that stuff in the pot. I done learned you got to season it. No, but that was very, very good. That was good. I think I'd have to go with them poppers.
The poppers.
Yeah, little jalapeno poppers.
Yeah, so I took duck breast and just cut them in half and then cut those halves in half and made strips. And you whipped up seasoned up some cream cheese for me. What all was in that?
It was cream cheese, prime beef, that dried chimichurri mix, and some white shredded cheese.
Like cheddar or something?
No, that was a Italian blend. It was kind of strong smelling, but it was good in that cream cheese.
Yeah. I hollowed out the jalapenos and scraped some of the seeds out, some of them, some
Flavor roulette.
It was a little hot. Spooned them off in there. Seasoned that duck up just with, I think I had some of your prime beef and a little barbecue rub. Laid that whole strip of duck on top. Mikey, you helped me roll them up. Took a whole piece of thin bacon, just rolled down.
That was good bacon for that.
And then what'd y'all season the tops of those with? Was it just barbecue rub or?
I didn't even see them get seasoned.
They didn't have nothing on the outside.
Nothing on them. Threw them on a pellet grill. I don't know. They were on there, 35, 40 minutes tops. And, man, that was a good bite. It tastes like steak. You'd have thought you were eating steak. Now, those were ducks we had in the freezer. They come from Mallard Point over there. That was a little different duck. It wasn't super wild. They wasn't quite tame, but they probably had
pretty close.
They'd ate some feed in their life coming from over there.
Yeah.
It was the best duck I ever ate. I ain't gonna lie. I'd go back to eat that to get someone in the freezer full of that duck.
They're good ducks. They're clean.
But what about you?
I'm gotta go with the poppers, man. That was
a good bite.
I don't know. Me and Mikey did.
I missed out on that.
We did some hot and spicy pronto pup Viennes.
Hold on. Now Malcolm sent me this video, and I'm sure it was later in the evening. Looked like, but
that's after a few minutes.
Y'all had some look like pancake batter dipping Vienna sausages in.
That was a beer batter on the fly, wasn't it, Mikey?
It was.
And my response to that was, I've been gone not even 3 hours, and y'all done resorted to frying Viennes. We ate good all weekend, and y'all went to Viennes after all that.
That was the last night. We ate. We get down in groceries.
We had to do something. I mean, we had kids there with us. Me and Malcolm was the babysitters.
Yeah.
So we had a house full of kids, and we were getting stuff ready. And man, some of them kids, they done got the shakes, and they got into Doritos and stuff. Like, we got to get them something to eat real quick.
Yeah. I will say that how long did you cook that skirt steak Friday night? It was pretty good.
Yeah, it cooked a little while, but it was pretty good, though.
We had
it wasn't overdone.
No, it was good. I ain't never cooked a skirt steak for no hour, but it turned out.
It's supposed to have been hot and fast, but the coals wasn't right. So,
we had the Milwaukee leaf blower.
Yeah, putting the fire to it.
But no, all food this weekend was very, very good. I don't think I ate anything that was not good. All of it was delicious.
And that's, part of deer camp, to cook all this stuff. We're fixing to do some recipe videos and start sharing some of those on our social channels. So they'll be on the website, I guess on YouTube, some shorts on TikTok.
Show you how to make some good gravy.
Probably some Facebook too. Is that what you're doing, Jamie? What do you got going on? Which ones are you going to start out with?
Man, I can't tell my top secret. No, be very. I don't think it's that
classic family
tradition.
Melted cheese in the oven.
Yeah, good old cooked cheese, right?
It's nothing. It don't sound like else but melted cheese.
That's so good.
I don't know how many people do you think do that? Just melt some cheese in the oven and put it on a biscuit.
It's just like,
if you hadn't done that, and I never would have tried it. I've lived 47 years.
Older people do it.
Really?
You got to do like my grandmother though. You do melt the cheese and then she sprinkles sugar on top of the cheese, and I don't know what it does. I've seen her do chocolate syrup on it.
Makes
also.
It sweet.
But,
like while it's cooking or after?
No, after it's done. Take it out.
You got greasy cheese with sugar on it. And it's delicious.
Doctor recommended.
That could not be good for you.
It's doctor recommended. It's good.
Yeah,
real good.
Guaranteed to get diabetes.
Man, she's 94.
Mikey, what are you cooking up good?
Oh man, we got old Friday special coming in. Catfish etouffee.
Now that sounds like deer camp to me. Fried catfish or blackened, or how you gonna cook it?
We're gonna fry it.
Yes.
We're gonna fry it.
I've got some backstrap I'm gonna be doing tacos with, so we got those recipes coming up, and
We're eating good, in other words.
eating good. So y'all keep an eye out for those. Tyler, you want to tell everybody where they can find us? I know.
Sorry, y'all, I don't have a mic. If y'all want to connect with the Buck Junkies, make sure y'all check us out on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and of course Facebook. And we're on all. Sorry, we're still getting this part down. And we're on all of the audio platforms: Spotify, Apple, all of those. So
all the good spots. Anywhere you can get your social media, you can find us on it.
yes, sir.
All right. Well, guys, we appreciate y'all hanging out with us again this week on Buck Junkies.
We're hungry now.
We're hungry. It's time to get out of here and go see what we can drum up good to eat. And we'll be back next week with some more talking about our favorite thing. That's hunting deer. We'll see y'all. Gone.